from the early years 1905 until 1945. The history began in September 1905 when Suzuki Shotton, a trading firm, acquired a steel business called Kobayashi Shikosho in Wakinohama, Kobe. That business became Kobe Shikosho, now known as Kobe Steel Limited. In 1926, they completed Japan's first cement plant, and in 1930 produced Japan's first electric mining shovel. Over the next 4 decades, they steadily solidified their position as a manufacturer. However, by the end of World War II in 1945, air strikes had left their factories to Japan heavily damaged. Second, the Gulf years from 1945 until 1970. In 1951, when Japan was still getting back on its feet after World War II, they were first in Japan to produce titanium and pioneered the industrial application of this metal. In 1959, the number 1 blast furnace in Kobe works was fired, turning Kobelco into an integrated steelmaker. In 1970, the Kakogawa works was completed, broadening their product lineup to include steel wire rod, bar, plate and sheet. Along with Japan's high growth, Kobelco too grew bigger and became a diversified enterprise encompassing steel, non-ferrous metal and machinery. Then, in the year globalization 1970 until 1995, from the 1960s, they began to expand overseas. In 1960, they opened their first overseas location, an office in New York City. In 1962, Kobelco completed a fertilizer plant in East Pakistan, currently Bangladesh. This was Japan's first plant export. The 1970s saw an acceleration in their global activities with the establishment of companies and offices in Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and the US and China. Overseas activities, as our diversified businesses gained momentum, it was at this time that Kobelco became an international mark of Kobe Steel. Last of 100 years in business, 1995 to present. In January 1995, the Great Hanshin Awaji earthquake struck Western Japan. The quake caused tremendous damage to them. Our Kobe head office was completely destroyed, and their 1 blast furnaces, the heart of a steel works, had to be shut down. However, they weren't beaten. 2.5 months later, the blast furnace went back into operation and production quickly returned to normal. They became Japan's largest wholesale supplier of electricity with the startup of the number 1 power plant at Shinko Kobe Power Station in 2002 and the number 2 power plant in 2004. Continuing to go forward, they further expand their overseas location. In 2005, they celebrated their 100th anniversary. Overcoming turbulent times over the past century, Kobelco is moving ahead into the future. That's all for the background.
Okay, what's going on? Oh, alright. Oh, okay. We'll be back here. So today, today, I'm gonna tell about chronology of Kobe Steel scandal. How did it happen? Alright. I'm sorry. What's going wrong with Japan? Incorporate. Yeah. Alright. Chief Executive Hiroya Kawasaki is on the way up. A couple of top bosses have been fired. Yeah, fired. Other top brass will see their payback packet is suffer. But trawling through Kobe reports, it's clear there is plenty wrong at the heart of Japan's 3rd biggest steelmaker. Alright. Here are the 3 key things I think lead to the firm's problem. The first is greed. You know greed? I'm also greed too. Hiya. Right. The line that stood out for me in the report was a management style that overemphasized profitability and had inadequate corporate governance. Essentially, Kobe employees put making money above. Wait, what? Oh, alright. Sorry. So they were simply unreported because profit were deemed more important. The analysts have suggested the one reason for the cover-up was the Kobe, like many other Japanese steelmaker, has been under pressure as Chinese steel firm food global market with excess supply. Alright, the second problem is insular corporate culture. Yeah, the second problem. Alright. The report points the finger at the corporate culture deeply lacking of transparency. Like the other guys say, a culture that prioritizes winning purchase order and meeting delivery deadlines over ensuring quality. The other guy say, hey, what the heck? Alright. An insular organization where personnel were rarely exchanged or transferred between different diversions. No one talked to each other about what was going on in the division where most of this faking data business was taking place. And the part of the reason for that was because employees were rotated into different departments, and the management lesson is 101. The communication is good. Yeah, one of the key recommendation is the report is to get staff to move around the different divisions, so this line of communication open up. So I'm gonna tell my friend and ask him to continue my part. Okay, goodbye. Wait, what? My part again? I didn't pay for this. Alright, never mind. Okay, the last part of the problem is dishonesty and negligence. I'm sorry for that. Alright. So the Kobe staff felt they could deliver products that fell short of customer specification to their clients as long they had no safety issues. So essentially, as long as there wasn't anything terribly wrong with the steels, it was okay if it wasn't exactly what the customer ordered. That's line in my book. Yeah, my book. But with the pressure of putting profit first and a corporate culture where no one talked to each other, you can see how something like this might happen. Oh my god. So the report also point out this problem took place at many locations within Kobe Steel Group. Spokesman Gary Tsushida told me it was systematic. So I think about my part is the conclusion lah, and I want to make some conclusion. So Kobe is now taking steps to fix some of these problems. The fact is that the century-old firm has hired an external auditor to investigate its corporate culture and examine why the safety scandal occurred. Speaks highly of its intention to change, but it is only down to pure dumb luck that no one of faulty steel they sent their customers ended up in major accident or tragedy. Fixing corporate governance issue, introduce a more transparent and accountable board, and basically making sure staff don't tell lies will be key priority for Kobe as it tries to clean up this mess. Alright, that's all from me.
2017, Kobe Steel held a press conference and first confessed to inconsistencies in quality control. An internal probe outlined a company practice that at least 40 employees at headquarters, some who moved up into senior positions, oversaw the smudging details to ensure products matches suppliers' needs. Senior employees speculated data falsification dates back as far as 1970s and somehow avoided detection. However, and the investigation will only focus on the breaches beginning after 2013. The discovery first came to light on June 9, 2016 after repeated quality testing at 20 Ts factory. Locations could not replicate the quality standards requested by customers. Pressure to meet delivery deadlines and production goals were cited as the causes behind the irregularities. Sorry for that. But Kobe Steel's source revealed pressure to raise profitability over the years unsuccessfully also played a role in the company's undoing. Okay. Falsified materials were supplied domestically and internationally to build airplanes, bullet trains, cars, spacecraft, and defense equipment. The scandal initially sparked a chain reaction of safety concerns from General Motors, Boeing, Honda, and Toyota. But 90% of misrepresented products cleared safety checks. Although Kobe Steel's former CEO acknowledged the company's credibility had fallen to zero after 3 years in the red, but on March 2018, Kobe Steel recorded a higher than expected profit of $578 million. However, the impact of the police probe was not included in the end of year fiscal report, which concluded on March 31st. For 2 years running, Kobe Steel's Japan Industrial Standard Certified seal has been revoked on stainless steel and more recently copper products. It's heavy blow to customers' relationship as the issue of compliance plagued Japan's industrial sector. Made in Japan was once synonymous with the idea that Japanese make higher quality goods, but its brand image is running out of steam following the chain of data falsification scandals which have embroiled Nissan, Mitsubishi, Subaru, and Toray Industry. Kobe Steel scandals caught the attention of the US Department of Justice in 2017, who warned a sanction unless documents related to the data scandal were submitted. Meanwhile, a class action civil lawsuit for compensation has also been filed against Kobe Steel for an undisclosed amount, further tarnishing Japan's global image as a source of high quality craftsmanship. In an effort to regain public trust, the government is cracking down on manufacturing companies that fail to meet industrial standards enshrined in law. Late last year, the Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry announced plans to jack up the penalty for serious industrial standards breaches 100 times the current amount. The maximum penalty was 1 million yen, which is around $9,000, and 1 year jail term, but set to be raised into 100 million yen, which is approximately $911,000. In March, the CEO Hiroya Kawasaki stepped down and was replaced by Vice President Mitsugu Yamaguchi, who vowed to perform fundamental reforms in addition to reviewing the management culture once the police investigation is completed. So that's all from me. Thank you.
So I'm going to explain about the people who involved in this scandal and also the people who affected by this scandal. On October 26, 2011, Kobe Steel have established an independent investigation committee chaired by Mr. Gan Matsui, an attorney at law and a former superintending prosecutor of the Fukuoka Heights Public Prosecutor's Officer, to investigate about the misconduct. They have been found out that the people who involved in this scandal is the CEO of Kobe Steel, which is Mr. Hiroya Kawasaki, he only concerned about the profit rather than the quality. Next, the employee who did not perform the data checks in inspection division. Then after after the investigation, they found out that some staff falsify inspection data as if it meet customers' specification and fabricated test data for unmeasured product as if they were actually measured. After the investigations, they had revealed that the aluminium and copper business was the only division where executive officers were involved in the misconduct. Specifically, two executive officers who once worked at the plant where the misconduct took place were aware about the misconduct but failed to report it to the superior, who was then head of the aluminium and copper business. Then, the executive officers did not themselves engage in misconduct. Another executive officer who became aware of this misconduct did not more than to decide a basic policy to gradually eliminate the production and shipment of the non-conforming product, and he only instructed his staff to improve manufacturing process and stop accepting part of the order. The former executive officer, which is two of them, the director executive officer, were found to have been directly involved in the misconduct before taking office as an executive officer. And even after become an executive officer, they neither reported the misconduct of the board director or took any action to have the misconduct helped and corrected. The misconduct took place not only at the aluminium and copper business but also at other division and group company. The people who affected by this scandal is 525 of their customer who had received non-conforming product from them. But then further investigation detected the new cases of misconduct Kobe Steel. Stakeholder can be the Mr. Hiroya Kawasaki, the CEO of the Kobe Steel. The people that have been affected also is the stakeholder of the company, and it also give a bad reputation at the state because the employee and their family rely on the income to survive, and if the company was shut down because of this scandal, everyone would lose everything. Another parties who affected from this issue is their customer who in the aerospace industry, Boeing and Japan Mitsubishi, both use Kobe part made with falsified data in their aircraft. But these two companies stated that they don't believe that the part that they received recently was a safe concern. Next, the Japanese automaker Toyota, Honda and Nissan, who acknowledged that they had used affected Kobe materials but were still assessing the consequences for their vehicles. Next, Ford company, who said it found aluminium parts in its hood of its model in China, but they also can't confirm if they were sourced during the affected period. And other big company also affected from this issue, which is including the General Motors, Mazda and plane maker Airbus AEDSF. So that's all from me. Thank you.
For the last part is about the lesson learned from this case study. I think it is very related to the cause of the problems in the firm. Firstly, the lesson is avoid greed. I have a word. A management style that overemphasizes profitability and had an adequate corporate governance. For example, we can say that Kobe employees put making money above telling the truth to their customers. They put money number one as the first priority. Secondly, avoid insular corporate culture. No one talked to each other about what was going on in the division where most of this data faking was taking place. And part of the reason for that was because employees were rotated into different departments. Management lesson 101. Communication is good. Communication is the key. One of the key recommendations in the case is to get staff to move around different divisions, so this line of communication opens up. And lastly is the lesson is avoid dishonesty and negligence. Kobe staff felt they could deliver products that fell short of customers' specification to their clients as long they had no safety issues. So essentially, as long as there wasn't anything terribly wrong with the steel, it was okay if it wasn't what the customer ordered. That is actually lying, dishonesty. But with the pressures of putting profit first and corporate culture where no one talks to each other, no communication at all, you can see how something like this might happen. So it is important to avoid fraud and dishonesty and negligence in a corporate culture. Lastly, I have some words that I can share with you. Clever, clever, squirrel jump. Lastly, fallen to the ground also. That is related to this case. Thank you.